Hey, what's up everyone? It's that dude Derek. Welcome to my new series, The Diabolic Kitchen, where we make diet-friendly, anabolic recipes that taste so good it should be a sin. On today's episode, we're going to be making a diabolic strawberry pretzel salad just in time for your 4th of July parties, so cue the intro. Man, I've been waiting to cue that intro. So in this episode of the Diabolic Kitchen, we are going to be making a strawberry pretzel salad, but we're going to be making it diet-friendly. We're going to be making it anabolic. That's why we call it the Diabolic Kitchen. So how this is going to work is I'm going to show you everything that you're going to need, including the ingredients and kitchenware. Then I'm going to show you guys how to make it. Going to run through the macros, the protein, the fat, the sugar, the calories. Then we're going to do a taste test, and I'm going to let you guys know how it tastes. With no further ado, let's get started. So here's all the ingredients you're going to need. I'm going to put all the ingredients down in the description along with all the quantities so you guys can easily access that. But what you're going to need are some pretzels, and I prefer ones that have a good amount of salt on them. These unique pretzels as well as the Utz pretzels are very good for this recipe. Non-fat plain Greek yogurt, light butter, frozen or fresh strawberries, and I will say that I prefer using frozen in this recipe, and I will show you why later. Fresh or frozen blueberries, in this case it doesn't matter at all. Plain original unflavored gelatin, royal sugar-free strawberry Jello, and I like this one because it's only 5 calories. Clear whey isolate, the strawberry flavor. And I recommend this MyProtein one, but I know Isopure makes clear protein and Finiflex also does. But I know this one's good. I haven't tried the other two. And some vanilla whey protein. So I'm using this Repp Sports Whey Plus Vanilla Waffle Cone. And it is a good tasting protein. Just make sure that it tastes good or your recipe is not going to taste good. Alright, for our utensils, what we're going to need is a rubber spreader spatula thing, a whisk, a small and a large mixing bowl, an 8x8 glass serving dish, preferably one that has a lid. If you don't have a lid, you can use like saran wrap to cover it. Hand mixer, measuring glass for some water, and I didn't mention that in the ingredients before, but we are going to need to add some water. Food scale to weigh our ingredients, and these two items are optional. We're going to use this food processor to crush the pretzels, and I'll show you how we're going to use this blender to make our life a little bit easier as well. So first thing that we're going to do is grind up 2 ounces of these pretzels. What we're aiming for is kind of a chunky and powdery consistency. We don't want it too fine and we don't want it too coarse. And that's what we want right there. Some little bit of powder, a little bit of chunks in there. That's going to be perfect. And like I said before, you don't need a food processor. I've seen like Remington James put pretzels and stuff inside of bags and smash it with like a mallet. So you can do it that way too. This is just a lot easier. Next, we're going to add 28 grams of our low-calorie butter. And we're going to stir this with a fork until it's all incorporated. Alright, that is what it should look like. And just to make your life a little easier, make sure you do soften that butter. You can just leave it out for a little while, or you can stick it in the microwave for a few seconds. But now we're going to dump that into the dish here and flatten that out with a spoon. So that's what it should look like. And you can probably use like a substitute for the butter if you're really trying to watch your calories. But trust me, that buttery pretzel taste is definitely worth the little amount of extra calories that it adds. Next, we're going to put 340 grams or 1.5 cups of Greek yogurt in a large mixing bowl. Going to add 1 8-ounce fat-free cream cheese, and 25 grams of protein powder. And this is going to be the vanilla one. With our hand mixer, we are going to blend this until it is nice and smooth. And that's what it should look like, nice and smooth. Now we're gonna take this and carefully spread it like in the middle of the pretzels, and then we're gonna work outwards. You don't really wanna work inwards because then you'll kind of push the pretzels around and then the bottom won't be nice and even. So just kind of scoop it in the middle, and then we're just going to carefully spread it outwards. So this is one of the most critical steps of the recipe. You do have to make sure that you don't leave any gaps along the edges. If you do that, what's going to happen is when you put the Jello on top, it's going to seep through the cream layer into the pretzel layer and make the pretzels all soggy and not that good. Next, we're going to measure 2 cups of water. And we're going to put this in the microwave for about 2 minutes to get really hot. And in the meantime, we're going to mix our dry ingredients. Now we're going to add 2 scoops of the clear whey isolate. And I've pre-weighed the protein scoops, so I know that these scoops are pretty much exactly 25 grams each. We're going to use 1 packet of the plain Jello mix and 1 full packet of the strawberry Jello mix. So this pack comes with like 4 envelopes. Just make sure you're only using 1. Alright, now that our 2 cups of water is hot, we're going to pour that in. And now we're going to whisk this. And it is going to be kind of clumpy and foamy, but just keep on mixing it. It'll go away. The foam won't really go away, but once it sets in the fridge, it'll get a lot better. So just make sure you're kind of scraping the sides with the whisk to get all the powder off. The hotter you get the water, the easier this is going to be. And that's what our final product should look like. It's just kind of foamy on top, but you got to make sure that just there's no clumps inside of it. Next, we're going to get 8 ounces or 1 cup of cold water. And we're going to add 100 grams of strawberries to that. And I like to use frozen strawberries for this because we're going to add this to the Jello, and before we pour that Jello on the cream layer, we have to make sure that it's at least down to room temperature, or what's going to happen is if that's still hot, that hot Jello is going to melt through that cream layer, and we're going to have that same problem where the Jello seeps into the pretzel layer. And that's no good. So if you use frozen strawberries and cold water, it's going to cool that off significantly, so then you don't really have to wait for it to cool down to room temperature. Alright, now we're just going to pour that mixture in here. Again, that's going to really cool off that Jello so it doesn't melt through that cream layer. Alright, and the last step is we're going to pour this on the cream layer. So again, make sure that is nice and cooled off. Kind of stir it just a little bit. And we're going to make sure that we pour this very slow onto this cream layer, because if you do it too fast, you're going to make too strong of a stream, and that stream is going to blast right through your cream layer. So you got to just have it like kind of trickle on top of the cream layer. Kind of see, just keep moving it around, because it's going to want to kind of poke through that cream layer. So this is what it's going to look like before we put it in the fridge. We have nice 3 layers there, and that's because we made sure that cream went all the way to the edges, that we used nice cool Jello so it wouldn't melt that cream layer, and we were careful that we weren't pouring it too fast or in one spot for it to poke through that cream layer. So last thing that we're going to do is cover this and put it in the fridge so it can set properly. The best thing to do is to do it overnight. I wouldn't recommend eating this the same day. So we're going to put this in the fridge and we're going to eat this tomorrow. Alright, this is the final product here, and we're going to give this thing a taste test. We just put some blueberries on top. I used 100 grams of blueberries when it comes out of the fridge. You will maybe notice like a little bit of foam on top. You can just get like a butter knife and kind of smooth that out, and it'll look just like this. I know some of you guys want to know what the macros are, so we'll just do that first. For the entire dish with the blueberry toppings, everything included, we have 1,168 calories. 134 grams of protein, 73 grams of sugar, and 17 grams of fat. For 1/4 of this, which is what I have right here, that big old slab, we have 292 calories, 33.5 grams of protein, 18.25 grams of sugar, and 4.25 grams of fat. So we're looking at a really nice protein to calorie ratio here. For some of you that watch your sugar, that might be a little bit high, but most of this sugar is coming from lactose and fruit, so you know there's no added sugar in this recipe. So using that fat-free cream cheese, a lot of people don't like the way it tastes, but when you mix it with that protein and the Greek yogurt in this recipe, you really can't even tell a difference from regular cream cheese. The one difference of this recipe that I would say is that the top layer has like a bit of like candy strawberry flavor. It's got like just a little bit of tartness, which is like kind of like the tartness like a cherry pie would have. Maybe not quite that tart, but the top layer is not as sweet as the original version. So that's what we're dealing with. Just take a look at that. Nice pretzel layer on the bottom. If you take this to a cookout, no one's going to be able to tell this is like a protein recipe. You don't taste any protein powder taste. You don't have any of that weird like egg white taste or anything like that. We don't use any egg whites in this recipe. It tastes just like the real thing. I can't say whether or not those other proteins would make it taste this good or not, but I promise you if you use that strawberry one, you're not going to be disappointed. And I'll have to say that that strawberry protein, I don't necessarily like it by itself. The flavor is not optimal in my opinion, but when you mix it with that Jello mix, it just like brings it out. And it's so good. Man, that was good. Alright everybody, that is it. Again, I'm going to put all the ingredients, everything that you need, and the macros down in the description. If you end up making this recipe, in the comments section, please let me know how you like it. I personally don't think there's any compromise eating this one versus the real thing. Flavor-wise, it's just as good, if not better. Texture-wise, if you like a little bit of a thicker crust on it, you know, go with the full-fat one, but you know, that isn't worth the extra calories in my opinion. You could always make this crust a little bit thicker if you want to. But this recipe is going to be lower in fat, lower in sugar, and way higher in protein. So with all three of those things, I think this one is a true winner versus the original. So go ahead, give it a try. And if you like this recipe, give this video a like. Subscribe to the page so you don't miss any future anabolic recipes like this. And until next time, I am out.